Hello, Patty. We're starting our mushroom soup. This is going to be a big recipe. You can adjust, and we'll talk about more as we go over things. But we're starting with, I think this is half a flat of mushrooms. It comes pre-sliced for $21 at the restaurant store. We got our sweetened condensed milk here. We got mushrooms that we've cleaned to throw into the pan. They were a little too big. So over here, this is the way I set up the stove. I put each time I put the mushrooms in, 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter. And sitting here on the side, just to start off, I start with a gallon of milk in this pan on very low heat because it takes usually an hour to 2 hours to cook everything, and each time we get the mushrooms browned up nice with garlic powder or granulated garlic on them, we dump them and then start the next batch of mushrooms. So right now I'm gonna get my granulated garlic, the first round of mushrooms, and it's about right there. And sprinkle granulated garlic on it. And then we'll wait and cook them and dump them in the pan and repeat that same step over. Hello, Patty, we're back. I'd like you to meet my lovely assistant, Lisa Usami. We've been cooking the mushrooms. While we were doing that, Lisa's got the onions ready, chopped up very fine. You can see, so they brown nice and they kind of almost cook away. The last group of mushrooms was a little small, so we cut these a little bigger. They're rinsed and ready to go. And over here, you can see we still got the milk on light simmer in the pot. I didn't put the water in yet. And the mushrooms, if you want to put it on the pan, are browned up nice and ready to go. So what we're gonna do is take our mitt and our very heavy made in America cast iron frying pan and dump them into the Holy cow, it's a heavy pan.
I'm glad it wasn't me.
Oh boy. Making sure to scrape the bottom of the pan to get all the brownings.
I should be on the other side.
Yeah, come on over here. I'm gonna have a workers' comp case, carpal tunnel. Now we're gonna take probably about a third of a stick to a quarter stick of butter right in there. Let that melt. The city. Our Cutco Union Made in America knife. And throw our next round of mushrooms in. Might have put a little too many in last time, I don't know. And repeating again, and we'll see you at the next round. In between, we'll be cutting the mushrooms up just a little smaller again, and we shall return. Today we're cooking Polish homemade mushroom soup, and this is for Patty Shan. And I'm doing this in the middle of cooking because I forgot to give the recipes, just so you need to do it, just in case you need a reminder. 8 pounds of mushrooms, cut thick. 3/4 a pound of butter. We go a little over that. 1 medium onion. 3 cans of Campbell's mushroom soup. A gallon of milk. 1 can condensed milk. 2 quarts of water, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and 1 tablespoon of gravy master. And all this stuff, if you know how to cook, and I know you do, you adjust it a little depending on how things go together. Cut. Okay, we're picking up in the next round, Patty. We cut the mushrooms a little bigger this time. They look good. You can see the brown on them. The only thing we got to remind you of is I didn't show you me putting the granulated garlic on them last time, but every time you cook them, you put the granulated garlic on. I think that's it. We're gonna dump them in. You can see what it looks like inside the pot. And we're gonna dump them in. And I'm gonna give myself a hernia here. And then we're gonna just do it all over again. Oh boy. And then wow. And once again, 3.5 to 4 tablespoons of butter. And you can see all the stuff building up on the bottom of the pan, which will make us a nice roux towards the end. And just every time I dump them in, I stir this up a little bit, even though it's on very low heat. You don't want any of the milk sticking to the bottom of the pan. Here's our mushrooms that we cut up bigger again. And dumping them in. Oh, spilled a couple on the side. Granulated garlic. And for the first couple of minutes, usually you'll take the cover and cover them, then put it back on the soup pot. Just until all the moisture starts coming out of the mushrooms. Helps them cook better. See you next round. And we're gonna go ahead and brown our onions. I'm making a little bigger batch than what the recipe calls for, so we got a little more onion than what the recipe calls for. Lisa sliced them up perfect. Just want a quick brown on these because it'll cook, the onion will cook in the soup and it'll almost like disappear when you slice it that thin. I don't put any garlic powder on the onions. Where are the onions?
Right
there they are. Here's the onions. Also, see in the we had more mushrooms than what the recipe called for. We're gonna add another half gallon of milk, which isn't a big deal. We may have to, normally you would use whole milk, but seeing I didn't put water in, I'm using 2% milk, so that's kind of a decent balance. And this cast iron pan is nice and hot, so these onions are reducing down quick. And The next batch of mushrooms, which will be our last, will be the one where I add the tablespoon of vinegar near the end to the mushrooms when I cook them down, and then after that we'll do the roux. But I don't think of anything else, any other issues, but you can see here the mushrooms are getting nice and brown. I cook them for a couple more minutes and then they're going in. All right, we're back again. We are on our last batch of mushrooms. We're getting ready to finalize the product. You can see this is the last batch. So what I do, I pour 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and you put it in right near the end when they're fried. And I'm gonna do 1.5 because, maybe 2, because the amount of mushrooms in the bigger recipe. And you do this because otherwise the vinegar, if it isn't cooked in the mushrooms and released slowly and stirred in the way it is, it could curdle the milk. All right.
Coming around.
We have everything staged for the end. We got our condensed milk, the Campbell's cream of mushroom soup, the gravy master, and the flour for the roux, and the butter for the roux. Oh, this pan's heavy. I can't lean the pan in anymore because it's so heavy. I will dip it in the soup, so this is gonna take a couple extra minutes. We got a couple mushrooms on the stove.
No.
I did. Crap.
Need some help?
No, I'm good. I got it. Yeah.
Rawr.
Man, that thing's heavy. Now stir it in. And I'm just gonna turn the cast iron pan off for a second because before I put the roux in, I'm gonna put in the Campbell's soup and the condensed milk. And I'm gonna turn it up a little bit so it'll be easy, so it'll start thickening quicker once I put the roux in. So I'm gonna start off with 1, and if I don't like the taste, I'll add more. You don't want it too sweet though. This is a and the mushroom soup. Before I put it in, I like just try and smooth it up a little bit so it blends better when it goes in. button. Doing it with the left hand don't work as good as the right hand. And once again, stir. And number 3. And a lot of this, we'll see how it comes together at the end. There's always one thing or other you might want to do. Like I'll add salt and pepper to taste, kind of. And it may need, if it's not sweet enough, more evaporated milk. Or if it's not thick enough, I veer from the recipe and use the easy, quick thickener cornstarch.
Okay, we're almost at 6 minutes, so.
We're back. We're gonna make the roux now. So we're gonna put it in the pan, and I can't say I do this perfect every time. A lot of times it sticks on me, so I just use what's good. So I'm melting 1 full stick of butter, and I'm gonna probably use 1 full cup of flour. And that'll be it. And if I don't like how thick it is when it's all said and done, I will use cornstarch to finish it off. See? Can you see the butter? All right. And I'm getting the soup up to temperature, so when I put the roux in, I don't have to sit there and wait for it to come to a boil. I'm getting it close to where it needs to be. And once the roux goes in and it thickens, I'll use some Gravy Master to get it to the right color that I like, which also adds flavor to it. And then we'll add salt and pepper to taste and try it and make sure it doesn't need anything else. You can see a little steam coming off the soup, which is a good sign. And we'll see how badly our roux sticks. All right, I'm not the best roux maker, but here we go, and we'll see how that works. I might want a little milk in there. Help it out, we'll see. Yeah, it's a little too dry for me, so I'm gonna add a little water. And I don't want it all lumped up when it goes in. Actually, I should be using a metal spatula for this, but I am where I am now. Actually, though, it's not really sticking, so it's one of the better ones I've done. But I am getting a metal utensil because plastic is not sturdy enough. Here we go. Here's my final product. I'm going to start stirring it in. Little at a time. Isn't that pretty? And there's a lot of butter in here. There was a whole stick of butter to make the roux. And over the course of the hour we've been making it, it's probably about 3 sticks of butter, maybe 4, close to it. A lot of butter in this soup. I'm using it all. Now it's a matter of getting the soup to come to a boil, so then we can see how much thicker we gotta make it. And seeing we're sitting here stirring it up, I'm just gonna add the gravy master. It says 1 tablespoon, but I just do it to color, because usually the color and the taste matches up. Like, almost where I want it to be. I don't know. What do you think about that color?
I like that better. I don't think you want it dark.
No darker? All right, that's the color. And I can feel the soup starting to thicken a little. I don't know if I'm going to have to do a little more, but it's not bubbling yet. And while we're doing this, I added no salt at all during the process, so I'm just salt and pepper in the taste. Most people can put more in if they want. Come on. I'm just waiting for it to bubble so I can see if it's as thick as it needs to be, but it's taking a little longer than I would like it to. Because once you see the bubbles coming up, you know that it's activated the roux and it's as thick as it's going to be. But you can see the mushrooms and the onion, it's about a perfect mix. We like it hearty. Almost reminds me of cooking pudding pies. get a little bowl out so me and Lisa can taste it to see what it needs at the end, because almost never comes out perfect at the end. You almost always got to add something. On a metal spoon, because I don't want anything sticking at the bottom, so I want to make sure there's nothing stuck. All right, Patty, the flavor's good, it's done. The only thing is, we like it a little thicker than that, so you don't even have to see the results, really. It's done, it's good. I'm adding 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, heaping tablespoons in cornstarch just to thicken it up a little bit. And that should probably do it. Yep, you can see it right there. That's about perfect. It's gonna be like. What do you think? You don't want it too thick. We don't usually like it too thick. We've made it thicker before, but
Yeah, plus it'll even get thicker in a minute or so.
oh, it's boiling. It's as thick as it's gonna be. And I could make it a little thicker if you'd like.
Or whatever you want. I don't care.
I care what you like.
Okay.
Oh, are we still on?
Yes.
All right, Patty, it's done. Enjoy. If you need anything, give us a call and we will tell you anything else you need to know. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.